everybody. I am Anusha from CSC department working as assistant professor in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In my videos, I am discussing about the subject programming with objects. In that, it is based on Java. So in today's video, we will be discussing two programs. One is to store the contents of the file into a database, and another one is to retrieve the metadata of database and table. So let's move on to the programs. So the first question is to write a Java program that takes tab separated data, one record per line from a text file, and insert them into a database. So here we have a file named week9.txt. In this file we have few data. Let's say this is a person's name, person's phone number, and person's address. So these data we have to store it into a database. So in the database also, so before starting this executing this program, we have to create an empty table inside the database. So we have to create the empty data in the database and keep it there. And then once we execute this program, it will store these contents. These whole contents will be stored into the database. So here we have to make use of all these packages and interfaces. So we are importing them: the file input stream, the driver manager, result set, statement, and scanner class. So all these are imported into the program. Then we are creating a connection object and a result set object and set it to null. Now, once we have to, whenever we are going to execute a JDBC program, we have to first load the driver, create the connection, and then create the statement object. Then using that statement object, we will be executing our queries. So here, we are first loading the driver using the class.forName method. So this will be loading the driver, MySQL driver. Then here I am creating the connection. So I am making use of the get connection method of the driver manager, and I am creating the connection between the Java program and the SQL. Then I am creating a connection object using the create statement, and this connection object will be used for my later queries. Then I have declared a SQL string. Then now the problem here is that we have to store the contents of the file onto the database. So we have to open the file and start reading the contents of the file. So we pass the path. This is the path wherein I have stored my data. I have stored that file. So this file has to be passed to the file input stream class, so that we can open it and read the contents from that file. So to read the contents from the file, I am making use of the scanner class. So the file input stream object is passed as a parameter to the scanner class. Then I have this array list wherein it will store the contents from the file to this array list, and from the array list, this array list is not needed. So here we are passing the path where my file is stored to the input stream, file input stream, so that it creates an object and opens it to read the data from it. And I am passing this input stream object to the scanner class, so that we can read the data from the list. Then we are declaring an array list, a string array, which is used in our program. So here, so what we have, we have this file. So here we have this file with these contents. This column is the name of the student or the employee. Then this is the employee phone number, and this is the employee address. So these contents we have to store it into the database. So inside the database, we have to create a table named as employee. So we will create an empty table named employee with the employee EMP name, then phone number and address. Let's say these are the columns of the table. So into that we have to insert these contents, right? So first we have this file. So from that file we have to read each line. So at a time we will be reading each of these line at a time, and these lines will be split since it is a tab separated data, these tabs will be removed and then each of these contents will be stored into the array list. So initially we have the string A storing the first line. So that is A100 and A. So this is the contents of string A. Now this into this array list we split A based on this tab and then store each of these contents into the array list. So what will we have in the array list? We will have A100 and AAA as the address. So these contents are stored in the array list array. Now each of these will be extracted and stored it into the database. So for inserting rows into the table of a database, we use the insert query. So here this is the 0th index of array list, this is the first index and this is the second index. So we have to insert A as the employee name and phone number and address. So A is the 0th index. So we have to insert into the employee table values the first content, that is the 0th content, that is A. The content A will be inserted into this table. Then we are inserting the first index value, that is 100. So 100 will come here, and then we are inserting the second value of the array list, that is the AAA. So this is we have the address over here. So we get the first row of the file is inserted into the database. Next we will so this is we are making as a SQL statement. We are storing this SQL query as a string in this SQL statement, and that SQL statement is iterated. Now once we insert the values into the table, then we are incrementing I, which will display the number of rows which is being inserted. So here so first row is inserted. Now we check whether there are more contents in the file. That means SE is pointing to the file which is passed to it. So it is still having contents in it. So we go to the next iteration. So in the second iteration, we will have values B. We have the string A will take B 200 and BBB as the address. So again, once it is read, it will split and store it into array list. So the array list will contain B 200 and BBB. Once it is split, we are creating the SQL query as a string. So if we insert the values, array list 0, that means array list 0 is B. So B will be inserted into the employee name. Then array list 1, so 200 will be inserted into phone number, and B will be inserted into address part as once we execute this query. Once we execute that SQL statement as query, then again I value is incremented, so I will become 2. Now still there is one more line in the file. So again hash next will return true. So this iteration will happen again. So again, now A will contain the third line, which is C 300 and CCC. So again it is split. So the array list will be C 300 and CCC. So again we insert into we execute the insert query in these two lines. We execute the insert query. So into array list 0 we will store 0 C. To employee name we will store C, which is array list 0. Then the first indexed element will be stored into phone number, which is 300, and the second index number will be stored into address, which is CCC, and I value will become now 3. So again it will go for the next iteration, wherein it finds that there are no more values inside the file. So this will return false. So it will exit, and the statement will be printed. So 3 records are inserted. So we get in the output 3 records are inserted. So we get this line. Now in case if it throws any error, then it will be caught by the catch block, and this error message will be displayed. So since Now, since these connection object and all are open, which is holding the SQL, so we have to close them. For that, we call the close method for terminating the database connection. So once this is executed, we have the whole data which is stored in the file, which has been stored into the database. So that is how we pass the contents of the file as into the database. Now, in the next program, we are printing the metadata of the given table. So by metadata, we mean that the data regarding the table or the database. So here we are extra data, like for example, if you consider file, the file name, file size, these are all metadata related to the file. Likewise, if you take the database driver name, there are a lot of features related to driver. So these all can be the database metadata. Similarly, for the table also, the number of columns in the table, the type of the data type of the table, all these things forms the metadata of a table. So in order to retrieve the metadata of any table, we make use of the database metadata interface, and to retrieve the metadata of a table, we make use of the result set. So here, these two interfaces are used in our program, and the rest all are used for executing our SQL queries. So here we are creating the connection. We are first loading the connection. We are first loading the database. Then after loading, we are creating a connection. Then once the connection is created, we create the statement object, and we use the statement object for our queries. Now in our program, we are making use of the database metadata interface, which will give an overall details about the database. So here, so we make use of the get metadata method to collect all those details. So into this interface reference variable, we get that details of the data. Now using that, we retrieve the driver name, the driver version, the username, and the database product name. So we all these are some of the methods which are available inside the database metadata interface. If you go to the Oracle website, we can see lot of other methods which is defined inside this database metadata interface. So whenever we need whenever we work with that, we can make use of those interfaces. So here in our program, first we retrieve the contents, first we retrieve the metadata details, the details of that table we create an object to retrieve the data of the metadata of that particular database. So the get driver name method will return the driver name. That means here we are using the MySQL driver. So MySQL connector J driver. So it will return the driver name as this, since I am using MySQL database. So to retrieve the driver version, we make use of the method get driver version, which will return I'm using the MySQL 8 driver. So MySQL 8 and its related driver. So that will return this following details. Then we make use of the get username to get the username of the database. So I have named my username as root. So it will return the username of that database. Then to return to get the database product name, which database we are using. So for that, it will return MySQL, since I am using the MySQL database, and the version of the database is returned by database product get database product version. So that will return 8.0.31, which is the current version of MySQL which is being used. Now, so these are some of the methods which is available inside the database metadata interface to retrieve the metadata of that database. Now, we need to get some details regarding our table which is being used. So for that, we make use of the result set metadata interface. So similarly, as we have done before, we have to select a database. So for that, we create an SQL statement. This Java course is a table which is stored in my database. So I'm retrieving all the contents of that database. So once I execute this SQL query, it will return the result set object with the contents of this Java course table. So now I have to get the metadata of that particular result set. So I create an interface reference variable of result set metadata, and to that, so I'm calling the get metadata method on the result set. So it will return all the metadata related to that particular result set. So the result set is in regarding the Java course table. Now to get the number of columns in that table, I make use of the method get column count. Then to so that will be stored into the value n. Then as long as so I'm iterating those many rows. So I'm using a for loop to display the contents. So to retrieve the column class name, this column class name means, see here, let's say my Java course table contained 4 columns, I suppose. One is for roll number, which is storing integers. Then the second one is student name, which is string, which is varchar. And third one will be the marks and grade. This is marks. And fourth one is our table grade. Okay, so these are the 4 columns of my database. Now this roll number inside the database, it is stored as int. So when we retrieve that value, it is passed as an integer. So this get column class name indicates it gets the class name of the result set for which this data is stored. That means since our first column name roll number stores the value as integers in the database, the integer it will be stored as integer in the result set again, and that integer of the result set belongs to the class integer. So this get column class name returns the class name of the particular class name of the result set. Class name of the result set in which the database data is stored. Since the database is storing this column name as integer, this integer will be stored as integer class of Java. So this get column class name will return Java, the class in which this integer belongs to. So it belongs to the Java's lang integer class. Now similarly, we need to get the table name. So our table name is Java course. So get table name will return the table name related to this particular column. So we get Java course. Now the column type name will return the data type of the column of the database. So here we will get it as integer. And column label will return the name of that column. So that is roll. So that is for the first iteration. Now for the second iteration, it will take up these values. So since our student name is stored as varchar, and varchar when stored into the Java result set of JDBC, it will be storing as string. So the get column class name method of I, that means of 2, that means of student name, will return the java.lang.string class. Then we need the table name of where this student name belongs to, and the student name belongs to the Java course table. So it returns Java course. Similarly, the student name is storing the contents as varchar in database. So the get column type name will return the data type of this column as how it is stored in the database. So it will return varchar. And similarly, we have this the get column label, which will return the name of that column. So our name is student name, st name. So it will return this. Now in the third iteration, so it will take up for marks. So we will get marks as stored as again integers. So it will return java.lang.integer as the get column class name. Then the table name will be again Java course. The column type will be integer, as the marks are stored as integer in the database, and get column label will return marks. So we get these 4 data in the third iteration, and in the fourth iteration it is for the grade. So we get the grade is stored as varchar in the table. So the get column class name will return java.lang.string as class name, since varchar will be stored as string into the result set. Then the table name will be, since this grade is present inside the Java course table, it will return the table name of it. And then since a grade is storing as a varchar, the value will be stored as varchar. The data type, the get column type of 4 will be the data type of the column name of the column grade, which is varchar. So we get varchar, and column label will be column name label of 4 will be grade. So in the fourth case, we get these details. So this is how we retrieve the contents, the metadata of the database as well as the result set. Now, in case it throws any error exception, it will be caught here, and this error message will be displayed. And after our work, we have to close the database. So for that, we call the close connection, connection.close method, which will close the database. So that is all for today. So to prepare my contents, I have made use of the complete Java Complete Reference 9th edition, and these websites, the Oracle tutorial website, and Java T-Point, and some IIT Kharagpur Samantha Sir's website. So that is all for today. Thanks for watching my video. We will see in the next class.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.